We're here today to talk about Senate Bill 1604. It's the Oklahoma Veterans Traumatic Brain Injury Treatment and Recovery Act of 2014. As you all know, many veterans have deployed numerous times to fight America's enemies in Iraq and Afghanistan, and it's come at a great price. Many have been exposed to explosions, they've been shot at, and experienced traumatic events while being deployed to these foreign countries. Due to these men and women's sacrifices and exposure to blasts, they carry wounds with them that you may or not be able to visibly see. It's a slow, silent killer. Due to TBI and PTSD, our veterans suffer memory loss, loss of focus, isolation and confusion, a flood of emotions, fatigue, depression, and anxiety, to name a few. They have turned to substance abuse, and in many cases, they've committed suicide. They've self-medicated for all their problems, which has landed a lot of them in prison. According to the latest statistics in Iraq, the Iraq-Afghanistan veterans are committing suicide of a rate of 22 a day. This is a cancerous epidemic, and we must do something to stop it now. Due to multifaceted crisis that exists among our war veterans in the state, it is essential to begin immediate, controlled deployment of this legally available and ethically deliverable treatment. Doing so publicly will begin to arrest the crisis of suicidality, family disintegration, and hopelessness faced by many of these men and women who answered our nation's call.
Through our office, we've done a lot of research other than the research we had last year. We found out George Visker, a professional football player, was injured with a traumatic brain injury, received hyperbaric treatment, and actually now workers' comp pays for hyperbaric treatment for NFL players in California. So this is a big plus. We know that we can get the insurance companies on board and make this a standard of care. We can get our veterans treated, and with treating the veterans with the increased coverage that there is on high school football players on head injuries, we can actually probably move this down to the public issue after we get the information from treating the veterans.
We have a huge investment in the military in Oklahoma, and we have a huge debt that we owe all of those who served. Using hyperbaric oxygenation treatment to help them help remediate traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress is a critical step forward. As we pass this legislation, and I believe that it will pass, we need the public's help. We have to be able to raise some money, serious money, to help start or to finish up the clinical studies that have to be done, as well as looking at the actual start of treatment of these men and women.
In my particular case, I was exposed to 3 separate IED blasts, which directly hit my vehicle. Miraculously and thankfully, every one of my vehicles survived. I was hospitalized. I was subsequently diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury, and suffice to say, I wasn't the same ever since then. I couldn't think properly. I couldn't carry on coherent conversations. I couldn't handle social situations appropriately. I just struggled to really conduct any of my daily activities the way I used to before. I wasn't the same person. Emotionally, mentally, cognitively, none of it actually worked the way it used to. I served out my tour. I came back from Afghanistan and started spiraling down into a state of depression, as is normally associated with traumatic brain injury and PTSD and things of that like, things that naturally come from traumatic brain injury from IEDs. And then I got plugged into hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and it was just such an incredible blessing. Almost immediately, like 10 treatments into the actual process of hyperbaric oxygen therapy, everything started coming back online. Where I wasn't able to sleep before, now I could finally sleep. Where I was constantly stressed out, I no longer was. Where I wasn't able to emotionally relate to my wife and my friends, all of that started coming back. This bill represents so much for veterans like myself, people who are in situations like me who are in that dark tunnel and don't see that light. And people need to understand that that light is actually there. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and this bill it represents so much of that. We talk all day about the importance of supporting our troops and doing things like that, and that's exactly what this is. And so my thanks go out to Representative Bennett, Senator Allen, and everyone involved in the process of passing this bill.
Generally speaking, we find that the first treatment, their photophobia, tends to go away. That's that light sensitivity that gives them migraine headaches. By the 5th treatment, their headaches are generally under control, and by the 10th treatment, they can sleep through the night. At the end of 40 treatments, they have a 15-point IQ increase on average. a 39% reduction in post-concussive syndrome, a 30% reduction in PTSD, which is the largest reduction in PTSD ever published anywhere, a 51% reduction in depression, and a 96% improvement in emotional control.
And this legislation, I know, will get passed through the House, and I'm sure the governor will support it and sign it because we take care of our veterans here in Oklahoma, and that's what this legislation does.